In this video, we will make a great application where we can buy and sell Bitcoin with virtual money using the Python Customtkinter library. We have $1,000 of virtual money to start with. We will save the amount of virtual money and Bitcoin in the table we created in the sqlite database. We can access the current Bitcoin price using the tradingview library. By clicking the trade button, we can buy or sell at the current Bitcoin price. We enter the dollar amount when buying and the Bitcoin amount when selling into the entry object. When the button is pressed, the amount of Bitcoin and dollars we have is automatically updated. If we do not have the amount we want to buy or sell, the transaction does not take place. We pay 1% commission for every purchase transaction. We will do the project with you from the very beginning. You can do the project with me by following the steps in the video one by one. To support us, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the video. So let's start. For the desktop application, I will use the Customtkinter library. With this code, I can transfer the library. I will use the tradingview library to get the current Bitcoin price. I transfer the library with this code. First, I will create the window. I import the Customtkinter library. I set the view mode to dark. I set the default theme to blue. I create a variable for the window. I set the window title. I determine the window size. I use the main loop function to prevent the application from closing. We created an empty window. I will create a label object to show the amount of Bitcoin and dollars we have. I send window variable, text and font values to the label object. I add the label object to the desktop window using the place function. For now, I can set the text value to turtle to appear on the screen. We will soon get these values from the sqlite database. I added the label object to the desktop window. Now I will create the sqlite database. I am creating a code file. I am importing the sqlite library. I can create a database using the connect function. The connect function creates a database with the specified name if it does not exist, and connects it if there is one. I can create a table using the execute function. There must be 3 columns in the table: ID, dollar, and Bitcoin. I add data to the table using the insert into function. The starting balance will be $1,000 and 0 Bitcoins. I confirm the changes made in the database using the commit function. I end the database connection with close. Database and table created. Now I will transfer the values in the table to the budget label object. I import the sqlite library to run commands in the main code file. I will create a variable. I send a select query to the execute function. I need dollar and Bitcoin data. I can access variable values using a for loop. I change the text of the label budget object using the configure function. When I run the program, the data will be fetched from the table. The values of $1,000 and 0 bitcoins were fetched from the table. Now I will create entry objects for symbol, screener, and exchange, respectively. I send the variable name and text values to the entry function. I can add the entry object to the window using the place function. I added the entry object to the desktop window. I can copy and paste for the screener entry object. I am making the necessary changes. I added the screener entry object to the desktop window. Finally, I will create an entry object for the exchange. I am making the necessary changes. I added the exchange entry object to the desktop window. I need a button to get the current Bitcoin price. I send the window variable, text, and task function name to the button function. I add the object to the window using the place function. For now, I define the task function with pass. I added the button object to the desktop window. Now I will try to access the current Bitcoin price. I will use the tradingview library. I import the library into the project. I will edit the function of the button. I am creating a variable. I will send the necessary values to the handler function. I need symbol, screener, exchange, and interval values. I can get the values entered into the entry object by using the get function. Using the getAnalysis function and openIndicator, I print the current Bitcoin price on the console screen. I enter symbol, screener, and exchange values. When I press the button, the current Bitcoin price is printed on the console screen. Now, instead of printing to the console screen, let's print to a label object. I create a label object for this. I send window variable, text, and font values to the label function. I can add the object to the desktop window using the place function. Since the text value is empty, it does not appear in the window. We can edit it as turtle for now. I added the label object to the desktop window. Now I change the text property of the label object by using the configure function instead of the print command. I enter symbol, screener, and exchange values. When I click on the button, the current Bitcoin price is shown in the label object. Now I will create a button to trade. I send the window variable, text, and task function name to the button function. I add the object to the window using the place function. For now, I define the task function with pass. I added the button object to the desktop window. I will edit the trade task function. I want another window to open when the trade button is pressed. I will create a variable for the window. I adjust the window title and size. I ensure that the window does not close by using the main loop function. When I click on the trade button, a blank window opens. Now I will add the entry object to this window. The user will enter the amount of Bitcoin or dollar they want to buy or sell in the entry object. I send the window name and text values to the entry function. I add a window to the object using the place function. I added the entry object to the window. We will soon check whether the value entered in the entry object is appropriate for the current balance. If it is not suitable, I will show a warning message. I need a label object to display the warning message. I send the window variable and text values to the label function. I add a window to the object using the place function. I added the object as a window. Now I will create two buttons for buy and sell. I send the window variable, text, width, color, and task function name to the button function. I add the object to the desktop window using the place function. For now, I define the task function with pass. I can create a function in by using the same method. I'm copying and pasting. I am making the necessary arrangements. I added both buttons to the desktop window. Now I will edit the task functions I created for buy and sell. I start with the buy function. When the buy button is pressed, the balance will be checked first. If the balance is sufficient, Bitcoins will be received for the dollar amount entered. Afterwards, the Bitcoin and dollar balance will be updated. First, I connect to the database. I can use the connect function. I need the current dollar balance. I fetch the current dollar balance with the select query. I compare the current dollar balance to the entered value. If the dollar balance is not sufficient, I change the text property of the label object to a warning message. If it is enough, I start the purchasing process. I will reduce the current dollar balance by the amount entered in the entry object. I also make an extra 1% deduction. I update the current dollar balance in the table by running an update command in the execute function. Now I need the current value of Bitcoin. I can reach the current Bitcoin value by using the handler function. I can get the symbol, screener, and exchange values required for the function from the values entered in the entry object. I access the values entered into the entry object by using the get function. I set the interval option to 1 minute. I will increase the amount of Bitcoin available. First, I will fetch the current amount of Bitcoin using a select query. I'm saving the current amount of Bitcoin into a variable using a for loop. I can find the amount of Bitcoin purchased with this formula. I find the new Bitcoin balance by adding and save it in a variable. I update the new Bitcoin balance with the update command. I confirm the changes made in the database using the commit function. Finally, I will update the label object that shows the current Bitcoin and dollar balance. I fetch the current Bitcoin and dollar balance with the select query. I update the text property of the label object using the configure function. I can end the database connection using the close function. Let's try the buy button. I enter the values necessary to reach the current Bitcoin price. I click on the trade button. I make a $100 purchase. I think I made a mistake. I will click the button again to see the error. I made a mistake while using the round function. I am making the necessary arrangements. I'm trying again. There is no balance of $1,000 because the data is recorded in the table. I can get back to the starting balance by deleting the database and running the commands again. I repeat the database and table creation and insertion process. I'm starting the program. I enter the values necessary to reach the current Bitcoin price. I click on the trade button. I make a $50 purchase. Note that we take a 1% deduction. Dollar and Bitcoin balances have been updated. Let's make a $100 purchase. I'm trying to make an $850 purchase. A warning message was issued because the balance is insufficient. I'm making a $200 purchase. Even though the balance was sufficient, the text did not change. We will solve this problem soon. The buy function works almost as we want. Now I will edit the sell function. We will perform similar operations as we did in the buy function. First, I connect to the database. I will check the amount of Bitcoin. I use the select query to fetch the amount of Bitcoin. If the amount of Bitcoin entered to sell in the entry object is more than the current balance, I publish a warning message in the label object. If it is not much, I can start selling under the else command. I create a variable for the new Bitcoin value. From the current balance, I subtract the value of the Bitcoin entered to sell to the entry object. I am updating the current Bitcoin balance using the execute function. I use the handler function to get the current Bitcoin price. I can get the necessary symbol, screener, and exchange values by using the get function in entry objects. I set the interval value to 1 minute. I will update the current dollar balance. I'm using a select query to get the dollar balance. I create a variable for the dollar balance we will receive as a result of the sale transaction. By adding, I determine the current dollar balance after the transaction. I update the current dollar balance using the execute function. I confirm the changes made in the database using the commit function. I will update the label object that shows the current dollar and Bitcoin balance. I use a select query to access current balances. I update the text property of the label object using the configure function. I end the database connection using the close function. I will test the project. I am deleting the existing database. I am recreating the database and table. I enter the values necessary to reach the current Bitcoin price. I buy at $50 and $100. Current Bitcoin and dollar balance is updated. I'm making a $500 purchase. Now let's try the sales function. I will sell some Bitcoin. I made a mistake. I wrote the Bitcoin column name incorrectly in the select query. I am making the necessary arrangements. I will test again. I enter the values necessary to reach the current Bitcoin price. I will sell some Bitcoin. A warning message is displayed because the balance is insufficient. I'm trying to sell in smaller quantities. The sale was completed successfully. But the warning message was not changed. I'll fix this in a moment. I'm making a $200 purchase. Current Bitcoin and dollar balance is updated. I am now updating the warning message. After the balance check is done, if the balance is sufficient, I can change the label text property using the configure function. I will do this in both the buy and sell functions. I delete the database and run the creation commands again. I enter the values necessary to reach the current Bitcoin price. I will make a few buying and selling transactions. A warning message is displayed when the balance is insufficient. When the operation is successful, the warning message is changed. Everything works as we want. To support us, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the video. Thanks for watching.